Oh, yes, it is a live Saturday edition of Across the Board Sports Talk Show, and you could just feel it. It's a game seven tonight, and I don't care what sport you talk about. When you say game seven, you just get goosebumps. I mean, I get a little, I just have my hair standing up on my arms. I feel great. I feel I didn't want to be in this position because if you know me, and I've said this all along, Red Sox, Dodgers, Red Sox, Dodgers. Well, tonight, after last night, the Brewers have pushed us to a game seven tonight against the Dodgers in Milwaukee. That is the subject of today's show. And it's a college football Saturday, as we do here every Saturday and across the board. Sports talk show. We will talk college football. So here's how this is going to work today. Today is I'm asking for an all interaction type show today on the program. I want people to tune in, chime in, give me your thoughts. Let's have this as a great interactive show today. A little chilly outside in most areas now. The temperature is changing to fall, so I don't think anybody's out doing any errands or pumpkin picking today. I don't think, at least for the early hours. So whatever you guys do on Saturday mornings, let's get fresh and going, and let's talk about this huge day in sports because it's the sports equinox right now. Okay, NHL, NFL, college football, baseball, basketball, whatever the hell you want is all happening at the same time. It's a great time to be involved in sports, and it is a great time to have some interest in what's going on the college football landscape. Look, I woke up this morning, 6:30. I was watching some crazy soccer between Manchester United and Chelsea, and I'm thinking to myself, what are we going to talk about on the show? What are we going to get the juices going today on a Saturday? For me, it's Game 7. And I thought about it, I'm thinking, is Game 7 the best thing sports can offer? Is it better than the Super Bowl? Is it better than the NBA Finals? I mean, and NBA Finals could go to Game 7, but when you look at it from the overall picture of sports, are Game 7s the best thing sports can offer? Is that the best thing that we can get as a sports fan? And I simply say yes. Because if you look at a Game 7, whether it's the NBA or it's baseball or even hockey, playoff hockey's intense, and a Game 7 in hockey's intense. How big are Game 7s in sports? Is it the best thing that we could offer? Super Bowl, to me, always gets the love because of the commercials, the halftime show. You get the wives and the girlfriends even watch the Super Bowl, right? Super Bowl is always that popular event of the year. I'm not that big on, I watch the Super Bowl, of course. There's people who do block pools. There's people who do all that stuff. I think a Game 7 that has a chance to win a championship, right? This tonight is for the NLCS. This is for the National League Championship belt, right? It allows you to go to the World Series. It's still one of the greatest, tournaments or postseason structures in sports. As much as you want to rip baseball and say how boring it is, this is still one of the best things in sports, in my opinion, is the World Series. It's the Fall Classic. I mean, everybody talks about the World Series, right? It's still the greatest tournament to ever be played outside of the NCAA tournament in March Madness. But for me, I say Game 7 is the biggest and best thing that I love about sports, and hands down, that's why we're getting into it today. And I think I'm going to go out on a limb controversially and say it's better than the Super Bowl. It's bigger and better than the Super Bowl. Any sort of Game 7 to win a championship. Now, look, a Game 7 in the first round of the NBA playoffs, it's still big. It's not as big as the Super Bowl. But a Game 7 to win a pennant, a Game 7 to win the World Series, a Game 7 to win the NBA Finals is bigger and greater than anything sports could ever offer. And that's how juiced up I am tonight. It is Across the Board Sports Talk Show. The show is brought to you by Red Jewelers, the law offices of Albert Yaqub, The Cut, Above the Rest, your Lehigh Valley Realtor Eli Boutros, Laziz Mediterranean Grill, Biagio Pizzeria, JDM Photography, and Mesa Middle Eastern Restaurant. Of course, all of those 8 sponsors have made this show possible. I thank you all for continuing to support these sponsors. And as I get into a discussion yesterday about one of the local markets in our area, Koch's Market. I know people in Whitehall know all about this situation. They're closing today, right? So I have a conversation with the owner, and the owner says, for over the years, 64 years, the sad part about it is you're seeing the community not support a local business for just a couple of weeks. They're moving right down the road. But what makes local businesses great is that you see the same old faces over and over. That's what we're all about, supporting local businesses. So all these places are locally family owned. That's why we should support them, whether it be a jeweler, a photographer, a lawyer, a place to eat, or a place to get your hair cut. It's all about those fine places. And I'll get into those places as the show goes on. Every Saturday and Sunday, I'll let you know about their specials, what they've got going on. I saw a nice thing from Red Jewelers the other day about the Build a Pearl, where you buy a necklace, kind of like that Pandora thing that was taking over the world, that big craze with Pandora recently, is now, buy a pearl, add a pearl for your wife or your girlfriend. You can check out Red Jewelers, 5248 Hamilton Boulevard and 704 West Emmaus Ave for all of those details. And I'll get into all of the great fine stuff that these advertisers provide and do a service for all my listeners. But Game 7, let's talk about it. Predictions for Dodgers Brewers. Look, everybody knows where I'm going, right? I mean, free pick or not, we got the pick segment coming up at 11:15. I'm all on board of the Dodgers. I want to see Dodgers Red Sox. I think that's the best two teams in the MLB right now. I think the Dodgers yesterday, they just got overwhelmed. They got overwhelmed. The pitcher, gets into a hole 4-1. They can't get out of the hole. You could also see that they kind of reserved some of their pitchers in that bullpen. They didn't want to overuse them because they knew they were going to be in a Game 7 tonight, which they're in, and I think they didn't want to kind of blow it and use a pitcher that they wanted to save for today. So I'm all in on the Dodgers. Predictions on that. The only crappy part is that it's happening during a college football Saturday, and the biggest game of the day arguably is Oregon versus Washington State tonight at 7:30. So it's a little bit of a competition factor. Football always gets that edge over all the other sports, so it's interesting to see how the ratings shape up. But I'm all in on Game 7 tonight. I think the Dodgers will come out and handle business, and we're going to be able to see LA versus Boston starting on Tuesday. So I'm all in on the Dodgers, but the subject is simply this. Game 7, how pumped are you? Okay? And also, is it bigger than any other sporting event in a 365 calendar year? Is it bigger than the Derby? Is it bigger than a boxing match that always comes around, one of the biggest matches of the year? It seems like boxing always throws out one big match a year. Is it bigger than UFC? Is it bigger than the Super Bowl? Is it bigger than the Super Bowl? That's kind of where I'm at right now with this Game 7 tonight. Game 7 is bigger on any kind of platform when it's for a championship. This is the NLCS. This is, to me, the game that you need to watch for a chance to go to the World Series. It's bigger than any other sport, okay? The Super Bowl, the NFL, look, it's not a series, right? It's not a best of 7 series where really the cream rises to the top. That's what makes sports, is when you get a series like this where we see the best team in the NFL, the best team in the NBA. They win these games. They win these series. And that's what it's about tonight in Milwaukee. So I'm all juiced up about Game 7. I'll let people start to trickle in and get on board on the Facebook chat room. There is a plethora of ways to reach this show, and I thank JDM Photography for hooking up YouTube Live. Okay, so it's YouTube across the board sports talk show. If you don't have Facebook and people who don't have Facebook and you want to tune in and interact, go to YouTube Live across the board sports talk show. You can see me live there. I'm also live on Facebook Live. I see a bunch of people tuned in right now. You can comment, interact, give me your thoughts. Let's get this thing going here on a Saturday. I'm always on Facebook Live every Saturday and Sunday. Mixlr app, mixlr.com/Joe-Unis. If you just want to hear my voice, you can do so on the Mixlr app, and we can talk and have a chat room. Just go up to your scroll window right there, and you could access the chat room, and we could talk about all the stuff on the table today on Across the Board Sports Talk Show. But of course, the big subjects. I'm also in the 11 o'clock hour. I want to get into contenders or pretenders in college football, because I'll tell you, there's a team in the top 5 that's a complete joke. And I want to throw this out because I know there are some fans across America that are obsessed with this team. And I'm going to tell you who is a pretender and contenders. People, we're getting right. Look, Halloween is usually where it starts to kind of form in college football, and we kind of get to see who's going to make that little turn to the college football playoff. We'll get into that. There are obviously Alabama and Clemson are the cream of the crop. We saw Georgia get their ass beat by LSU, so they fell out. And I was sitting on the show last Saturday saying, well, Georgia is not getting any respect. I think that's kind of been quieted down now. And LSU now back in the top 5, and they've got a tough one against Mississippi State. But let's look ahead to next Saturday, if I do so myself, and say Alabama versus LSU next Saturday night or Saturday afternoon. That's going to be a mega game right there. That could be 1 versus 4, 1 versus 5, depending on what LSU does tonight at home against Mississippi State. So we'll get into pretenders, contenders for college football. Top 5 college football games of the day. This is a strong card today in college football. And we'll talk about that coming up here in about a couple of minutes. We'll get into college football today too. But it's hard to look past Game 7, right? It's hard to look past what we have in sports. And am I out of my mind? Because I feel like some people would think I'm crazy when I sit there and say Game 7 of an MLB playoff or any playoff, like if you're talking to the NBA Finals, is bigger than the Super Bowl. And you know my thoughts on the NFL. You know how shitty the NFL has become, in my opinion, over the last year or so, if not a couple years. But I have been down on the NFL. I have been turned off by the product that they've given us. Very much high on college football, very high on baseball, very high on basketball as far as a college basketball standpoint, even though the NBA has started pretty damn good. Last night, a classic between the Warriors and the Jazz. We saw a Raptors team beat a Boston Celtics team that's predicted to win the Eastern Conference handedly. That was an awesome game up in Toronto. So, in the stock, if you put the green arrow up and the red arrow down, I have the NFL trending down. And everybody knows that about me, about Across the Board Sports Talk Show. I've said that, and I think it's the product, it's the flags, it's what we're seeing on the field. And for me, what's rising is college football. What's rising is baseball. What's rising is college basketball. I think over the years we've become more, obsessed with the tournament-style play. At least I have. And, am I out of my mind to say that Game 7s are bigger than the Super Bowl? I think it is. I honestly think it is. And I thought I would get a lot of shrapnel for it today. I thought people would be all pissed off saying, this guy on drugs? Is he out of his mind? He's sitting here saying Game 7 of a NLCS is bigger than a Super Bowl? I mean, because I'm just that down on the NFL. And I think there's more atmosphere in it. Look at that park last night was rocking. I mean, you talk about Milwaukee trying to punch their ticket to the first ever World Series for them. Then you got a Dodgers team and a storied franchise like the Dodgers. Los Angeles versus Boston, a potential huge World Series matchup, two big markets going head to head. So yes, this game tonight is just as big, and I say bigger than anything that the NFL could throw out these days because of the product, because of what we're seeing on the field. And this is gladiator versus gladiator. This is beast versus beast tonight, 8 o'clock on Fox Sports 1, and I'm going to be locked in and tuned in. So Game 7. It makes me think of just how it's a do or die. It's the doest of dies, right? It's the biggest game that you could throw out there in a tournament style series, right? In a competition where someone's got to win and it's 3-3 and someone needs to move on. And it's been a phenomenal series. It definitely outlasted and outclassed that Astros and Red Sox series, which a lot of people were disappointed in as how that turned out. Seeing Astros just tap it out 4-1. Boston, again, rising to the top, right? That's what the Red Sox did. And I think as a sports fan, you always want to cheer to watch the best game, right? You always want to cheer to watch the best possible matchup that we could ever ask for. And I think we're getting that tonight with the Dodgers and the Brewers. It's the best possible scenario will come from this game, and it's some people like that underdog story with the Brewers. It reminds me of the Royals a couple of years ago when the Royals made that run. Look, the Royals were on the bottom of MLB for years, and then they make a run. They get a good team with Hosmer and Moustakas, and they end up playing the Orioles for the ALCS. They end up going to the World Series against the Giants. They had all this juice around the Royals for winning a World Series, and everybody was cheering for that underdog, right? I mean, Joe, I think you would agree with that. You are you more of an underdog kind of guy, or are you more of a kind of favorite, let's let the best team win kind of guy? Because I get in arguments with a lot of people that says, how do you cheer for this? You can't check. I know people who bet on just the underdog. Can you believe that?
Yeah, I don't know if I bet on just the underdog. But
yeah, but the underdog role, like, have you ever embraced? I know you're a big movie guy.
Yeah.
There's been movies with underdog stories, right?
Yeah.
I mean, $1 Million, was it $1 Million Baby? Was that chick that was the boxer?
She was the boxer, yeah.
But she was like an underdog. She was told she couldn't do it. All that was a big story. I'm blanking on some movies, but there have been.
No, there's a couple out there.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
No, I do like. I like arrogant people being knocked on their ass when they least expect it. That's
yeah.
Like.
So you don't like the favorite that has that little the edge to them that they're pumping their chest.
If you're one of the favorites because you earned it and you rocked it.
Mm-hmm. You can get behind that, yeah.
I got you.
Yeah.
If you're an arrogant son of a bitch, I love when an underdog knocks.
Yeah. So kind of, that's kind of. I know you're, not the biggest of baseball fans. I know you're a big Yankees guy, but to look at tonight, then you would probably side with Milwaukee because the Dodgers have that like smug feel about them that a lot of people don't like. They don't like Manny Machado. I was talking to a couple people the other day, and they're saying that face that Manny Machado has is just, it's hard to like. It's like a hate the face kind of look like, and it's like it doesn't do much for me. He talks garbage and he runs his mouth, and it's like, that's how I look at the New England Patriots with Tom Brady. I know he's great, and we talked about this last Sunday when he took on the Chiefs, and we talked Patrick Mahomes versus Brady, which was a great discussion, and I would be remiss if I don't talk about how great that game ended up being last week, 43-40, and we saw Patrick Mahomes go toe-to-toe with Brady. But I'm kind of with you. I usually look at it and I say, well, if that team is arrogant, if that team's cocky, like the Warriors right now in the NBA, I want that underdog to not come off. I was all on board for the Cavaliers to beat the Warriors last year. And people know that about me. I'm usually with that side because you want the arrogant squad to lose. Is there anybody out there cheering for the arrogant team? Is there anybody out there saying, well, we want this team to keep winning championships?
The arrogant family members.
Yeah, exactly. But there are people, and I'm very being serious about that. There are people who say, I only cheer for the underdog. I only bet on the underdog. They like taking the chance of seeing an upset and seeing a team that could rise from nothing and win a championship. And that's kind of what Milwaukee, they're not that, they were the 1 seed in the National League. But I'm interested to see if people are actually cheering for the Brewers tonight because they don't want to see a team from a big market like Los Angeles, right? It's like, you're used to that with New York, with people who hated New York Yankees for years. Mm-hmm. It's like, well, I'm going to cheer against the Yankees because they're the fucking Yankees. That's what people have done that. Whether they're good or not, they take out the sport and how good their team is. It's like, you know what? I can't cheer for the Bronx Bombers because they have that hatred about them. And they're the Yankees. And I can kind of feel like that happening tonight with the Brewers and the Dodgers. I'm all aboard with the Dodgers. Yeah, they're a little arrogant. Yeah, it's Los Angeles. And, there's not many people who like the Los Angeles market out there. But I just think it's the best possible scenario for a World Series. And I think that becomes LA Boston. So I'm actually caught between a rock and a hard place. I usually cheer for the dog. And I don't like arrogant teams or arrogant players. But I'm all on board the Dodgers because I thought for sure we would get a Dodgers-Red Sox World Series.
Well, it's not wrong. You cheer for the underdog.
Yeah.
Okay. But if you're going to put money on it,
be smart.
Be smart about it.
Yeah. Well, speaking of that, and I talked about this too, it's like, you look at this, if you look at it, again, GodfatherLocks.com sports gambling segment is coming up at 11:15, Joe. Everybody's asking for it now. I'm getting emails saying, why would I pay for your picks if you're giving out 4 free picks a show? I got to tone it down a little bit. I'm only giving out, I'm only giving 1 today. I'm giving 1 college football pick, and that's it. I don't think I should give more than that because the college football run that I'm on is just unbelievably outstanding. If I pat myself on the back, right? 31-6-2 in my last 39 college football picks. 9 straight. 9 in a row college football wins on the website. So someone's making money and they ain't paying for it. You know what we say about that, Joe? You got to put a stop sign to that.
Yep.
Nobody makes money for free around here. So we'll put a stop sign. I still don't want to. I'm going to give out a free pick at 11:15. I'll give out 1. But if you want to buy the picks, go to GodfatherLocks.com. Coming up at 11:15, we'll give out a free pick. We'll break down some of the games. We'll get into the top 5 college football games of the day. And I'm juicing, I'm jonesing for some pretenders, contenders conversation about who I think is legit and who I don't think is legit in college football. And again, this is across the board sports talk show. If you see my face on Facebook Live and wondering what the hell's going on, this is a live interactive sports show. I have yet to have 1 comment on the Facebook Live. I see my man Jeff chiming in on the Mixler app. I'm going to get to his comment because I love what he just said, and I'll say that in about a second. But if you want to chime in, there's plenty of ways. Joe Eunice 15, that's JoeYounes 15 on Twitter. Hit me up on Facebook at Joe Eunice and Across the Board Sports Talk Show. And thanks to JDM Photography at jdmphotography.net. If you're looking to book a party, baptism, wedding, whatever you need, a photo shoot, I don't care. Shoot your kid's first birthday. Do it with Joe, right? Joe's right here. You hear his voice every Saturday and Sunday. Hit him up. Tell him you heard about us on Across the Board Sports Talk Show, and he's going to take care of you, and I'm sure he'll provide you with the best service. I know he's been taking pictures, the pumpkin patch last week with the family, some phenomenal pictures that Joe does with his cameras. So definitely check out JDM Photography. This is, for me, a big time right now to talk about pretenders, contenders for college football because there are so many legit contenders in college football that not many people know about them, and there are certainly some pretenders, right? There are certainly some teams that are ranked higher than I feel like they should be, right? You see that a lot in sports, right? You always see a poll or a ranking or some sort of voting format that someone says, oh, you know what, that team's well, the rankings, who makes these rankings, right? It's all about the eye test. For me, it's all about the eye test. It's what your eyes can see. And for me, I see a team in the top 5. We're going to get into it here in a couple of seconds that I think is definitely a pretender. And I don't think they should be in this. But then again, soft schedule, right? Soft schedule with this team. So we'll talk about it in a second. 11:15 is your GodfatherLocks.com pick segment. And of course, we are talking Game 7, Dodgers Brewers tonight. I threw out the motive of the idea, the opinion that Game 7s are the best thing sports can offer. Period. This is the best thing that I can ever get excited for when I talk about sports. And this is an interactive sports show. Everybody that listens to the show knows I'm all sportsed up, right? It's my main forte. It's my main This is why we do this show. This is why I have a gambling sports website. This is why we talk sports. And this is why we're in this business. And I'm in this business. And I went for radio, to school for a radio degree, because I love and I'm passionate about it. And if I'm passionate, there's got to be something in a reason that you can literally jack up your volume on your TV, put out some food, call up your buddies, call up your family, and watch a freaking game, right? And for me, the best thing to do it for is a Game 7. And someone argue me on it, and somebody make that discussion and say, you're out of your mind, or agree with me, because I'm juiced tonight. I'm juiced. You can obviously tell I'm jacked up and ready for this Game 7, because this is a chance to go to a championship game. This isn't some tournament, bogus tournament. This is the World Series, man. It's the World fucking Series. That's huge. To play the Boston Red Sox in the World Series, a chance as an underdog in Milwaukee, or the proverbial favorite who was a minus 180 coming into this series, and the Dodgers. You can't get any bigger than this. My man Jeff says, I like underdogs, but when it comes to a title game, I like to see the Blue Bloods. Dodgers Red Sox is what people should want to see. I completely agree. And me and Jeff have talked about this at length, especially over the last couple of days. Spot on, Jeff. I cannot agree anymore with what Jeff just said. People, if you want to see a competition, if you want to see the best of the best, and if you want to see 1 versus 1, in my opinion, that's what you want to see tonight. I don't think, look, I like the Brewers, but dude, if the Brewers win this game tonight, which I don't think is happening, but if they win this game tonight, the Red Sox should just shred them in the World Series. I don't think they're going to finish this Cinderella story with this little baby town, the biggest town in Wisconsin, right? Milwaukee's got to be the only town that anybody freaking knows about in Wisconsin. You know any, and besides Madison, state capital, but do you know any other cities in Wisconsin, Joe, outside of Green Bay and Milwaukee? No. So Milwaukee's like the biggest I mean, they got the Greek Freak for the Bucks. They have a pretty legit team. I'm not going to rip them completely. Their team is nice, but I mean, this is the biggest game in Milwaukee Brewers history. This is since the Packers won that Super Bowl years ago with Aaron Rodgers. This is probably the biggest game that sports town has ever seen. And it's tonight at 8 o'clock on Fox Sports 1. The Dodgers have been here before. LA has been here before. But this is why I think it adds on to the element of Game 7 being even bigger, because you're talking about a team and a town that, for me, is just going behind this team, right? This is a town that's backing their baseball team. This is a state, right? This is the state of Wisconsin backing their baseball team. So it's huge for them. And I understand that. And look, the Dodgers, with all the money and the market and just the advertising and the popularity that the Dodgers get, I mean, you got to say, outside of the Yankees, the Dodgers and the Red Sox are probably two of the best, other biggest franchises in baseball, right? I mean, you talk about baseball hats and jerseys that you've seen sold all across the world. If you're in China, you know who the Yankees are. If you're in China, you know who the Dodgers are. That symbol, that LA symbol, is all over the map. I mean, people know who the Dodgers are, and they know who the Yankees are, and they know who the Red Sox are. If you ask a kid in China who are the Milwaukee Brewers, I don't think he's got an answer, and I don't think he's got a Brewers hat in his closet. But that Yankee symbol and that Red Sox symbol, and that Dodgers symbol is all over the world. And that's why I think this game, for what Jeff just said, it's all about the Blue Bloods. We all want to see that tonight in Game 7. So let's talk about it. Game 7, I guess, who's going to be the first comment on Facebook Live? The interaction's open. There's a lot of ways to reach the show. Jeff just gave his comment on the Mixler app at mixlr.com/Joe-Unis. There's also a side subject I want to get into tonight. today that we'll talk about the NBA a little bit. And I know it launched on Tuesday. There's a subject that I want to talk about. There's actually two. One relating to the Philadelphia 76ers, which a lot of people on Facebook and on Twitter and on YouTube Live, thank you for everybody listening in, are Philadelphia fans, right? So a lot of people who listen to me on The Fanatic back in my days at 97.5, they followed me. I always try to sprinkle in some Penn State, some Eagles talk, and some Sixers talk, some Phillies talk. I will get to that, I promise, here in a little bit. And I'll talk about that at length, about what's going on for a certain 76ers topic that's not only reaching a local discussion, but across the nation about the 76ers. And I'll talk about that probably in the last segment coming up here on the show. So definitely chime in, interact, everybody. Albert, my man Albert, is the first comment of the show. Albert from the law offices of Albert Yakub says, good morning, sir. It is a fine morning, Albert. If you missed the first 30 minutes of the program, Game 7, Game 7, Game 7. That's what it's about tonight. If you don't like baseball, I don't know how you can't be at least intrigued by this matchup tonight at 8 o'clock on Fox Sports 1 to tune in and see a town like Milwaukee, a city like Milwaukee, the baby Brewers going up against the badass LA Dodgers in a Game 7. I think it's the biggest game that we're probably going to see until the World Series starts. Of course, it's the middle of football season. We will talk college football, the top 5 college football games of the day as it pertains to me. Let's get into it. All right, the number 1 game of the day starts at noon. Michigan State. A lot of people are tuned in to talk about that. Look, Penn State fans, I don't want to boil your blood right now, but that loss, last week for Penn State over Michigan State was a tough one. It was a really hard one to swallow. We talked about it on Sunday a little bit. We talked about how they couldn't afford to lose Michigan State. And, for me, Penn State, I just think, overall, I said it going into last Saturday, right? I talked about how you lose to Ohio State the way they did. It kind of it starts to, hurt you. It starts to bring you down a little bit. And I was scared of that. And I told you guys last week that Michigan State was going to cover. It was one of my 5 free picks that I gave out, which I went 4-1 on. And I told you Michigan State getting 13 points was just too many points for Penn State to go into that situation after losing to Ohio State. We saw that last week. We saw Michigan State come through. Today, 12 o'clock, Michigan State. Let's start it off by mixing all this stuff together, all this crap in one pile. Michigan is a contender. Michigan is a playoff team. Michigan is the best team that I've seen outside of Alabama since they lost to Notre Dame, hands down. They dismantled their opponents since that game. They throttled Wisconsin last week on Saturday night, which was one of my picks on GodfatherLocks.com segment. This team is legit, and if Shea Patterson could put anything together for Michigan, they will be in the college football playoffs. So contender for Michigan. Michigan State ranked 24 after beating Penn State, but this is the same Michigan State team that lost to Northwestern 19-9, and then Northwestern came back and almost lost to an 0-5 Nebraska team. This is what makes sports. This is what makes college football. So that's the game of the day. If you're looking at it from a college football perspective, Michigan State, right? That's the big game of the day starting at noon. Number 2, Oregon and Washington State tonight at 7:30 on Fox. It's a great Pac-12 matchup. Not many people know about Washington State and their offense. I know if you remember the story, their quarterback committed suicide, I think a year ago or a year and a half ago. And ever since then, Washington State's kind of been, I think it was almost 2 years ago now to say, and they've kind of been up, just kind of responding and reacting to that. It's very hard to get over that type of story that takes over your program, but they've kind of been under the radar this year, going 5-1. The only loss they had was to Utah, who have come on pretty damn strong recently. I think they lost to Utah, was their only loss. But that's a big game tonight. How serious is Oregon to cracking the top 10? We'll find out tonight at 7:30. So those are your first 2. The third, NC State, Clemson. Look, I'm only putting this in the top 3 because it's 16 versus 3, but I will not be surprised if Clemson puts an absolute ass whooping on NC State today at 3:30, because who has NC State really played? That's kind of why you question that record. At 5-0. Clemson is the cream of the crop in the ACC. They're minus 18 points today. Okay, so if you're Clemson and you're playing an undefeated team in NC State, how the hell are you minus 18? That's my question, right? It's like someone's making this line. Someone thinks that you're over a 2-touchdown favorite against an undefeated ACC opponent. That's what we're getting today at 3:30. So that's your top 3 games right there. Number 4, for me, it has to be, this is kind of under the radar type game, but it's a game that we should talk about, is Oklahoma versus TCU, because remember, Oklahoma took that loss to Texas in the Red River Shootout there, losing to Texas 2 weeks ago. This is the first game back. TCU, who's had some struggles offensively, they struggled to play against Texas Tech last Thursday, took a loss as a 7.5-point favorite at home. They're now catching 7.5 points. I like TCU today. Not one of your official free picks, but if I had to pick the game, I would take TCU plus 7.5 because they usually play Oklahoma pretty damn tight, and we're going to get that today. Number 5, where would I want to go with number 5? I don't know, because I think, I've been tossing it around saying what's the 5th best game of the college football day. I'm going to go Mississippi State LSU, but I don't know, because for me, LSU is so... look, they knocked off Georgia last week. And then 2 weeks ago, they lost to Florida, which was one of my biggest picks, again, on the site 2 Saturdays ago when I took Florida, to beat LSU at the Swamp. It is a big game because Mississippi State is 22 in the country. LSU, obviously, jumping onto the scene after beating Georgia. They're right there in the mix now to try to compete for a playoff spot. They're number 5. That's a 7 o'clock game, Mississippi State LSU, I believe, on ESPN. That's a big one. So if you want to look at the picture of the landscape of the SEC and what we have to offer as far as a championship contender, that one right there is pretty important for the landscape of the SEC. Now, I think LSU will win. The cover, though, I don't know. That could easily be a 3-point finish because, again, Mississippi State, LSU's got Alabama next week, so who knows where that look-ahead factor is. Very similar to Penn State, Ohio State. When you look ahead or you beat a team or lose to a team in such a dramatic, emotional fashion, it tends to stick with you for a little bit. So I don't know what type of team we're going to see today from LSU against Mississippi State. Those are my top 5 college football games of the day. I'm seeing a lot of new listeners. Rafe, Joey, Zach, Laura's on. Albert says, "What's such a beautiful morning." Albert, let's hear some juice. Let's get some conversation going. See, the Penn Staters now, Joe, I know you're a Penn State guy as well, but when your team loses 2 in a row, it's like, fuck. It's like it puts that damper, and are you really getting jacked to watch a game?
I'm a Giants fan, so no.
Well, yeah, you're hurting pretty bad. 1-5 this year. And we'll talk about that tomorrow. Well, by the way, we're going to get into some Giants stuff tomorrow because this Odell Beckham situation just continues to pile on with his dad commenting and, the whole thing about Mara and Eli Manning he's got that confused face and they're fighting amongst each other in the Giants locker room. We'll talk about that story tomorrow on our NFL Sunday show, it just seems when the bad's getting worse is what's happening in New York, up there in Giant Land. And we'll talk some NFL stuff tomorrow. Of course, Eagles, Panthers, we'll discuss that. And I'm actually going to be on live during the first early morning London game of the year. It's going to be Titans, Chargers early in the morning. So we'll be doing the show as that game's being played. And I'm sure you guys are going to want to tune in and watch the game and hopefully have my voice on in the background. So we'll hopefully get that going tomorrow on the NFL Sunday show. It is 11:15. I'm going to get to the GodfatherLocks.com segment in a second. For all my new listeners on YouTube Live, on the Mixler app, and of course on Facebook, what we've talked about thus far, it's all about Game 7 tonight. Game 7, Game 7, Game 7. I threw out the idea, and I see a lot of new faces, and I want to talk to you guys about Game 7 and how big this is, right? How large this is for a city and a town like Milwaukee, and how big this is for a market like LA. It'll be a disappointing loss if the Dodgers, who were up 3-2, to lose this game today in Milwaukee. I went on and went on the rant or the opinion or the idea of a Game 7 is the best thing sports can offer all across the board. That's what the Game 7 means to me. That's what Game 7 means as a sports fan. And that's what I'm excited to watch tonight. As big as I am, I'm going to be watching college football all day. And then I'll watch college football tonight as that Game 7 is happening. I'll have my tablet up. I'll be watching Oregon versus Washington State. But for me, Game 7, it doesn't get any bigger than this. This is a chance to win an NLCS. It's a chance to win a championship. I went on a limb and said this Game 7 tonight and Game 7 in sports to win a championship is far greater than a Super Bowl. It's far greater than the atmosphere, the juice, whether it's in an NBA arena for an NBA Finals championship or Eastern Conference Finals championship. I'm not talking about the Nuggets and the Pelicans in the first round of Game 7, which I still think is pretty big, but it's not as big as winning a pennant or winning a championship and getting yourself a ticket to the World Series. I think it's the biggest thing in sports. I think it's what makes sports sports. And I've said Game 7s, we need more of it. We need more drama, right? We need that crowd rocking tonight in Milwaukee. I'm juiced for it. And I think if you're not a baseball fan, and maybe that's why people aren't tuning in too much, or that's why people aren't commenting, because it's baseball, right? If this was a Game 7 for the NBA Finals, I think we'd get a lot of more juice going on the chat room, because people say baseball. I can't watch a 9-inning baseball game. I'd rather watch paint dry, right? There's people have to, you know what? Watch the game tonight. Do me a favor and watch the game tonight, because there are a lot of people who say baseball is so 1980s, right? I'm not going to watch baseball. And all freaking steroids. Chill out. Watch this game and tell me what you think tomorrow when we tune in for Across the Board Sports Talk Show, because I'm a huge baseball guy. Been for years. Everybody knows that. I think this game tonight is going to live up to its billing, and I do think the Dodgers come away with the win, because it's what's best for business. It's what's best. What Jeff said, the Blue Bloods, everybody needs to see it and wants to see it, and that's what I think we get tonight with the Dodgers. I think they win the game, and I think we get Boston, LA for a championship. Give me your thoughts. Interact on the Facebook Live app. Interact on Twitter at JOEYOUNAS15, and on YouTube Live at Across the Board Sports Talk Show on YouTube. This is pretty simple. There's a lot of ways you could reach me. So if you want to say something, say it and make it happen here on the show. My man Mike Vitko on Facebook says, not a baseball guy, but I must watch tonight. How about that, Joe? It's a guy who doesn't like baseball, but he's watching tonight. Why is he watching? Mike, tell me why you're watching. Before I even say it, tell me why you're watching. Okay? Because you're not a baseball guy, but it's a must watch. And it's a must watch for me if you're a sports fan. That's how I look at it. I mean, if it was the only thing bigger than this would be a Game 7 in the World Series. This is a Game 7 to go to the World Series. He's not a baseball guy. He's watching. It's a must watch. Dodgers Brewers. I know the answer of why it's a must watch. I've been saying it for the last 40 minutes. It's Game 7. That's why it's a must watch. A must watch is something you need to be sitting back. And again, Mike, perfect. All or nothing, right? This is all or nothing. When you used to play with your boys back in the day, and you used to be tied in the basketball court, 6-6, 9-9, right? 14-14. You say do or die. Next basket wins, right? Sudden death. The juices flow. You say all of a sudden everything changes. The competitive nature changes. This is all or nothing. It's like an NCAA tournament in one game tonight. It's a chance to go to the World Series, all or nothing. Mike, I completely agree. I say for me, this is a must watch. And I don't care what sports bar you're at or where you are tonight at 8 o'clock, you got to watch this game. So go ahead. I would love someone to argue what Mike just said and argue what I just said. And I love to hear from you, because there is no bigger stage than a Game 7 in any platform. I don't care what sport you're talking about. That's why I'm talking about this today. I've been thinking about this morning, what the hell am I going to talk about? What are we going to get into today? Well, it's Game 7. It's the best time in sports. Saw something from ESPN the other day, that Sports Equinox post. I know a lot of people saw that on social media, where all the 4 Major League Sports game teams in sports on Thursday had a game, whether it was Red Sox, Astros. They had hockey. We had hockey. We had baseball. We had football. All that stuff was going on. And of course, it's huge. It's huge for sports to see this going on right now. NBA season's on. NFL season's in the full halfway mark right now. Week 8 coming up next week, and a lot of people are talking about it. I think it's this week. I think it is week 8 this week, if I'm not mistaken. I believe it is. No, it's week. Is it week 8? Week 8 or week 7 in the NFL this week? I think it's. I forget. Yeah, I think it's week. Let me see here. I got to pull up my app. I should have known this off the top of my head. My head's spinning about this Game 7 and all this college football action right now for today. But yeah, I think it is week 7 in the NFL this week. So week 7 in the NFL, week 8 in college football. We've had a lot of feedback on the NBA the last couple of days on my website. I think I've started 7-3 in the NBA last night. Raptors and Jazz cashing in on the website. We had UNLV last night +10. Stanford on Thursday. The Blazers on Thursday. We opened the season with the Celtics and the Thunder on Tuesday. It's been a great start of the season. It's been a great run on GodfatherLocks.com. Let's go to the pick segment every Saturday and Sunday at 11:15, even though it's 11:22. I apologize. We will do a pick segment. Jeff says week 7. Thank you, Jeff. It is week 7. Week 8 in college football. We do a pick segment. What are these picks? Look, legalized sports gambling has happened in most. Look, DraftKings is doing it. FanDuel's doing it. William Hill has their own app. New Jersey. It is now legal to bet in New Jersey. It should come to Pennsylvania, I believe, sooner than later. I hear Penn National's getting it up at right there in Hollywood Casino, Philadelphia. All my Philadelphia people, Parks Casino, Sugar House, are trying to get sports gambling. You can now gamble pretty much anywhere on sports because it's being legalized. So what this website is you invest. You get these picks, whether it's on college football, whether it's on Game 7 tonight, whether it's on NBA tonight, whether it's the NFL tomorrow. You get the picks, you find an avenue to wager on, and you wager on it. It's pretty damn simple. If you're looking for some fast cash, if you're looking to pay you're looking to pay your student loans like Joey Hadid said the other week, or if you're looking to have some fun and take a trip to Atlantic City or just sit back and watch a game, check out godfatherlocks.com. Statistics are always a big thing that I get asked, what kind of runner are you on? I mean, show me something that's real, all right? Well, go to godfatherlocks.com and you can see green all over the fucking page and you'll know how real it is. But talk about college football, right? Let's talk college football. 41-14-2 run. 31-6-2. What the hell does that mean? 31-6-2 means in the last 38 college football picks that I've posted, 31 of them have won. Do the math. If you take $50 and you bet on every single one of those games 31 times, you've won. Right? I mean, I don't have a calculator, but if I did 6 times 50, you would lose. That's $300. But if you do it 31 times and win, that's what? $1,600? Do the math. That's simple as that. 19-2-2 in my last 23 college football picks. 9 straight college football winners on godfatherlocks.com. Let's give you out a free pick, and it's simply this. Clemson, minus 17.5. That's all I'm going to say. I don't even want to argue. Clemson. You take the 17.5, you lay the 17.5 points, and you take Clemson. They're top 3 team in the country. NC State is a fraudulent team. I'm going to say it here once, twice, thrice, whatever time you want to say it. NC State has not played anybody. Clemson is seasoned. They are ready to make that run again for a national championship. They didn't win last year. They got debunked by Alabama. Everybody wants to see them go at it again, right? You want to see them get there. They're the cream of the crop. If you forget, they beat Wake Forest 63-3. They've been on an absolute tear. They had that struggle against Syracuse a few weeks back. How the hell did you almost lose to Syracuse at home? You come back at home a few weeks later against the 16th ranked undefeated NC State team, and you're laying 17.5 to 18 points. I would lay it. I don't normally like taking games that high, but if you remember, this reminds me of that Cincinnati game a couple of weeks ago when they played UConn, and I said, who the hell cares if you know what the goddamn name of the quarterback is? Take Clemson today at minus 17.5. That's your free pick. There's a couple other ones, and I don't want to go back against what I said earlier that I was going to give out 5, because last week I did give out 5. We went 4-1.
Like, share, and subscribe, and you might access another.
That's right. Joe, again, Joe's coming in the clutch as he always does. JDMphotography.net. Like, share, subscribe. LSS. That's what we're going to call it. Like, share, subscribe. How about you send me an email? I mean, just say you like godfatherlocks.com at godfatherlocks@gmail.com. Maybe I'll throw you another one. But Clemson, minus 17.5, to me, is the best pick of the day. So I'm only going to give you one. We'll recap that tomorrow. If you want more, I've got 4. Look right behind this sheet, Joe. Maybe they can see through this. Can they see through the sheet? I don't think they can. It's all scribbling. There's 3 other games that I have posted on godfatherlocks.com on the website right now for all my subscribers to the website. So they can't see through the sheet. But if you want other winners, if you want to cash in, if you want to go to FanDuel or DraftKings.com and you want to go to William Hill, or you want to head up to Jersey for the day, take an hour and a half drive, you can do that. Go onto the website, get yourself some winners, and bet it. The biggest game of the day, okay, and this is a free pick because I've already said it. The Dodgers. I would take the Dodgers today, and I would go down swinging with the Dodgers, whatever they are, minus 110, minus 115. I will take the Dodgers against the Brewers, lay the line, right? Take the Dodgers to win the game because I just don't think the Brewers are going to finish it all. I see Dodgers Red Sox. I thought Dodgers Red Sox back in the summer. My brother Teddy texts me, says, who do you like? Beginning of the World Series, the playoffs, right? The day before the wild card games when they had the 2 tiebreaker games on that Monday, I said Dodgers Red Sox and Dodgers are winning this World Series. I texted that specifically. I think it was plus 800 for the Dodgers and Red Sox to meet up in the Fall Classic. There is a chance for it to happen, and I don't think the Dodgers let it slip up tonight. So I definitely think the Dodgers tonight are the play. So you actually got 2, Joe. We gave them 2 free picks, the Dodgers and Clemson. But like, share, subscribe is the way to do it at the show. And speaking of subscribe, please, and I ask you guys, please, if you want to subscribe to the YouTube page where you can get reminders that we're on live, you can check out the comment section. If you don't have Facebook, if you got an 89-year-old grandma and she wants to hear sports conversation and she can't access Facebook, but she can access YouTube, go to youtube.com, look up Across the Board Sports Talk Show, and subscribe to our page, because we're trying to make some leeway with this, right, Joe? We want to build this YouTube page. I mean, I went on a rant like this last week. If there's kids that are dressed up like Spider-Man, opening up Hatchimals or whatever the fuck you call those little toys or those little eggs, and they're making out what's in the egg, and they're getting subscribers and they're getting millions of viewers, I would hope that this show can get some viewers and some subscriptions on the YouTube live page at Across the Board Sports Talk Show. How does this show happen? To my sponsors, Red Jewelers, the law offices of Albert Yakub, The Cut, your Lehigh Valley Realtor Eli Boutros, Laziz Mediterranean Grill, Biagio Pizzeria, JDM Photography, and Meza Middle Eastern Restaurant. Those 8 premier sponsors have made this show possible. Speaking of Albert, 610-437-2185 for any lawyer issues. If you want to contact the lawyer, free consultation at Yakub Law, YACOUBLAW.com. You've got nothing to lose. Visit him on his website. Give him a call, 610-437-2185, and tell Albert that I sent you to him, and he'll help you out with even better connections and stuff like that. We're hoping to do a show in the next couple of weeks with Albert. And of course, you hear me mention the fine drive that is going on for the Ariela's Toy Extravaganza, which I don't know if you guys have seen, and if people on Facebook can like my Facebook page or the Across the Board Sports Talk Show page, the amount of gifts that they've gotten from Chop, the updated picture, it's amazing what our friends Abby and Shaddy, and of course Albert being involved, have collected for these kids for Chop. All the donators, the porch, wherever they have these presents, have like almost to the ceiling, right? I mean, there are just stacks on stacks of presents that have been given to the kids from Chop. And Joe said it best last week. Throw out $10, $20, go to Amazon, get a gift for a kid that can't afford to have a present, and visit Ariela's Toy Extravaganza on my Facebook page. We are hoping to have somebody, whether it's Shaddy or Abby or, you know, the parents of their daughter who's battling this case, or Albert himself, to come on and talk about what is going on. Support, donate, please give. You know you can do it. And, you know, there's some toys that you can go out and buy for your kids. Do it for a kid that can't afford it. Do it for a kid that's struggling and that's sick and that has to battle something for Christmas. I think we're all together by saying that. To do it and to give and donate, because not only do you feel better about yourself, but you're making a kid happy, right, Joe? I mean, we've all blown. Look, the Mega Millions last night was $1 billion. Nobody hit it. So, and I know whoever's listening right now, I know there was hundreds of dollars being thrown into this jackpot for this Mega Millions, which is now a whopping $1.6 billion on Tuesday, which you're going to see lines all across every deli and one-stop market in the area, in America, forget the area, with everybody trying to get their lottery tickets. So if you're willing to put $30 or $40, and I just did a GodfatherLocks.com segment about picking games and wagering on games. If you're able to do these things, you're able to give to Chop. So go to Ariela's Toy Extravaganza. On my Facebook page, you'll see the ad, you'll see the form, and you can visit and how to donate and how to send it to Abby and be a part of the Ariela Toy Extravaganza. So definitely give to that. So we'll hopefully have somebody on in the next couple of weeks, you know, for one of our live shows, or, you know, when we do a show with Albert, maybe at the Wooden Match, another one of our sponsors at 61 West Lehigh Street in Bethlehem. We'll try to get that discussion going on how to be a part of Chop. Also, you know, we are talking about this too, Joe, last week, about doing a special show with my man Eli Boutros about a Q&A, right, about buying and selling a house. And I think it's very pivotal and important to get informed before you make such a jump. We're going to hopefully be doing that with Eli in the next couple of months at 484-547-8228. Eli, it's ELIB8@yahoo.com for any more questions, comments, and concerns. Elias Boutros, LehighValleyAgents.com. And you can check them out. We'll do a Q&A coming up in the near future to talk about what to do. And if you're investing in a property, there are people who are doing that. You can do so at Eli Boutros, LehighValleyAgents.com. Reach out to him. Of course, Laziz Mediterranean Grill, the finest foods you're going to find, in my opinion, in the area. Tillman Square Plaza, 4666 Broadway, Allentown, PA. The best place for not only the best service, but the best food you're going to find in the area as far as a Middle Eastern place to eat. But again, the service, right? I've been to places to eat, and the service was so bad that I don't go back. Even though the food was probably so delicious, I wouldn't go back. This place is a combination of both, having the best food and the best people. Visit Laziz Mediterranean Grill in Allentown at Tillman Square Plaza, 4666 Broadway. So these are just some of the few premier sponsors that have made this show possible. And of course, one of the finest lawyers you're going to find in Allentown, free consult with Albert, one of the best realtors if you're looking to buy or sell, again, in Eli. Joe here with the photography. Again, if you're looking for any events coming up, I think it's an obvious choice when you're looking for getting someone that's professional. It's going to help you out. It's going to be very cost effective. You want to do so with Joe. So a good mention here for all my advertisers. And please, I beg you, and I see Lena just posted it right here on the show. The link to donate for Ariella's Toy Extravaganza is right there. www.amazon.com/GP/registry/wishlist, and then all a bunch of codes and numbers. So check it out in the Facebook app. Check it out on my Facebook page, Across the Board Sports Talk Show, and spread the word. That's what's key about this. Spread the word to Chop and get these kids some toys. Now, Albert says your picks are on fire this year, GodfatherLocks.com, but I don't think Clemson is legit, though. Albert, even if they're not legit, and look, I might even agree with you that they're not as legit to win a championship, but you lay the points tonight, and you just said we're on fire. Don't be shy. Lay the 17.5 points because they will absolutely annihilate NC State today. And Abby says, thank you, Joe. Of course, Abby is the one that's backing all of this, and her daughter is the one going through this. Abby, anything we can do here on the show, we will continue to do so. Joe and I are more than happy to put the word out, right? And we have it all on our Facebook page, Across the Board Sports Talk Show. And like I said, it's going to be a great time to hopefully get someone on to talk about this, whether it's you or your husband or Albert himself to come on and talk about this great donation that people, again, should do, want to do, and help these kids out. Because, and having kids too, and even if you don't have kids, but having kids of my own, it definitely hits you home a little more when you see what's happening for some of these kids down on Chop. And it reminds me of the Iowa Hawkeyes, who have a game today at 12 against Maryland, where they have the kids that are battling cancer up on in the glass window overlooking the field, and they're all just sick patients that love college football, and they watch these games, and these kids are just sitting there enjoying a football game and not knowing what battle they're dealing with. So, I don't want to get too emotional on you guys, but definitely chime in and help out and donate, because, like Joe was saying, like I was saying, you could give $10, $20, $30 towards a kid that can't afford it and that's battling a disease or they're sick or anything like that. We've all been in rough spots in our lives, so you don't know what someone's going through until you do something about it. So definitely donate and help out the kids from Chop. And you can look at the link right there from Lena up in the Facebook app, and of course on Facebook pages, my page and Across the Board Sports Talk Show. How did we start the show today? Game 7, right? We discussed Game 7 at length. I went on a limb and said nothing bigger than a Game 7, right? Nothing larger on the grand scheme on this big stage than a Game 7. Call me crazy. I don't think even some of my listeners now have heard me say this, Joe, but this game tonight is bigger. To me, Game 7 overall is bigger than a Super Bowl. It's bigger than a Super Bowl. I mean, again, the NFL gets the love, right? The NFL gets the popularity contest. Fantasy football, the gambling feel around football, it's football. I get it. It's America's sport, which I kind of hope that the NFL gets called out for as a fraud as they are. It's a fraud league. Over the next few years, I feel like it's just going to deteriorate and go down. But everybody tunes in for the Super Bowl because of the commercials, and I don't even know who's performing as a halftime show this year. The halftime show and all the hoopla. I mean, I can do away with all that stuff. It does nothing for me. I mean, that's just me. I don't care about the commercials. I don't care about the halftime show. Will I have a pick on the game? Yeah, of course, it's Super Bowl. But when you talk Game 7, when you talk do or die, when you talk all or nothing, and a chance to win an NLCS tonight, it's huge, man. It's huge. It's the biggest thing sports can offer. That's the way I look at it. It's the most exciting thing it can offer, because when you use the word sudden death, you just feel it, right? It's sudden death. It's win or go home. It's you lose and you're out. You're not only playing for your team, you're playing for your freaking town. You're playing for your city. You're playing for LA and Milwaukee. That's what it's all about, man. It's all about getting a matchup that can win a championship. It's all about getting in that matchup that you could sit there and say, we gave our all for our city. We gave our all for our championship town. And that's what it's about. So Game 7, bigger than anything in sports. How do you feel about that, Joe? I think you would disagree with me, right? You think the Super Bowl is probably the biggest game of the year, I would think, right?
Yeah.
It's a Super Bowl.
That's it.
I know I'm definitely in the minority. That's why I thought we would get some argument today from people. Everybody's saying you're out of your freaking mind. And what side of the bed did you wake up on to think that the Game 7 tonight is bigger than a Super Bowl matchup for a championship?
I mean, it depends on how you grew up. I mean, if you grew up strictly football,
Nothing
then
beats the Super Bowl.
everything else is like whatever.
Yeah.
If you grew up in the baseball family,
World Series.
then the World Series and all that's
Yep.
bigger than anything
Yep.
else.
Yep.
If you're in the basketball, so.
NBA Finals, yeah.
And then if you're one of those odd people who actually grew up in a home that they loved every sport, then every major game is important. And
Yeah, that's me.
so it's really tough. It's case by case.
But I will say this, and you can attest to this. And I see Helen Thompson. Hello, Helen. She says, Joe, you are amazing. Thank you, Helen. You are as well. And I thank you for chiming in and talking. Of course, longtime friend of the family, and absolutely love Helen. And thank you very much for tuning in. It means a lot to me to see everybody tuning in and listening. And of course, big shout out to Abby. And I saw Abby said thank you. Big shout out to Abby about the Ariel's Toy Extravaganza. And I see Misho tuned in. I see a bunch of people logged in right now too. If you guys want to chime in on Game 7, Joe basically hit it on the head. If you grew up in a family or an atmosphere that you are big on all sports, you're going to sit there and watch every sport and think that it's the greatest thing on earth. That's kind of where I'm at. I look at every sport and I say, I'm big on every sport. I'm big on everything across the board. No pun intended. I love everything. And I listen to sports radio when I can. I talk sports with my friends. I watch sports 24/7. It consumes my life. Other than my kids and my wife, it consumes me, right? So for me, that's why I love the do or die situation. But Joe, you played high school football, okay? And you played sports with your buddies back in the day. I'm sure you had pickup games in your neighborhood. I'm sure you threw a football around. I'm sure when someone told you do or die, or this is next game point wins, you know you got juiced up a little more than you got when it wasn't game point. When it wasn't for the game, right? When your mom was yelling for you to call you inside, you know you got more juice. You can't argue that.
Put it this way. Our pickup games were at Roberto Clemente Park in Southside Bethlehem.
Bethlehem, yeah.
And the one end zone was the backstop to the baseball field.
Mm-hmm.
And the other end zone was a concrete pad.
Wow.
Let's just say there was a lot of people that went for it and
hit
were
the
juiced
concrete
up, and
yeah.
you could tell who won that game and who didn't by the scratches on the elbows and knees.
But you did love that do or die,
absolutely.
Right? Like if you say this is game point.
It would be 32 degrees below zero, ice, snow on the field, and we still went out and played.
Yeah, and that's what makes sports awesome, man. Like Thanksgiving Day football, which we're going to be live at the Cut coming up on November 22nd. They're doing a show. We'll have a football, and everybody, that show last year was one of my best shows. We'll do that again this year because it's a pickup game, right? But in that pickup game, when someone says do or die, or next touchdown wins, and you just said it, somebody went for that concrete and probably busted their head multiple times.
Oh, yeah.
But when you said do or die, it all of a sudden elevates everybody, right? It elevates that mood. That's what tonight is. This is do or die. This is all or nothing. And I think for me, it's do or die, not only for the team, not only for the Dodgers and the Brewers, but for LA and Milwaukee. For LA, for Los Angeles and Milwaukee, this is do or die. This is the creme de la creme. This is a chance to go to the World Series. I may be overselling this. And you probably think that, like, dude, just calm down. You're going a little nuts. There are people who probably think that, saying you're out of your mind. You know how big this game is today. Look, the Phillies were in the World Series just 10 years removed, and that was huge for Philadelphia. The Eagles just won a Super Bowl last year. That was huge for Philadelphia sports fans. And I know a lot of Philadelphia fans that listen to the show, and of course, we're big themed about Allentown and Philadelphia and Bethlehem, and I talk locally. You know, if Penn State was in a college football playoff, you'd be jonesing for a do or die, you lose, you go home type style game. And that's what this is. Give baseball a chance. Follow it on your phone. Do something tonight to just see who the hell's going to the World Series. You'll get an update. You get an update on your phone saying Dodgers advance, because that's what's going to happen tonight. The Dodgers will advance. Very confident in that. Not only because I have them for the World Series, to win the World Series, I also have them for the series. I need them to win tonight. I'm probably going to have a big game for them tonight. A big pick on them tonight to beat the Brewers. There's a lot riding on tonight's game. But this is do or die. Do not kid yourself. Do not bullshit yourself. Don't sit there and say it's just baseball. This is do or die. If the little girls in the backyard were playing hopscotch and the next hopscotcher, I don't know how you keep score of hopscotch, wins, you're gonna be fucking all about it. This is what it's all about in sports. Helen says Harry agrees. Helen, I don't know. There's a lot of people. Nobody wants to tango with me today on the Facebook Live or on the chat room. I know someone out there is listening and they're saying this guy's on crack. Someone's saying that. Someone is saying that you're out of your mind to believe that baseball, and it's, for me, it's like you can't. There's no way you could fathom the idea that the Game 7 tonight is just as big as the Super Bowl. It is. To me, it is. In my heart of hearts, it is. Ben Schaefer, my man from Temple U, my new listener, my man Ben, going back to my days at Temple. Speaking of Temple, they got Cincinnati at 12 o'clock, and I don't want to give a damn. I always do this to myself. Take Temple today. Take Temple, -3.5. We'll add another free pick, Joe. That's 3 now. Cut me off. I'm like a drunk walking into a bar. Ben says, hopscotch. Oh my God, hopscotch and the truth. My man Ben tuning in. Big shout out to Ben Schaefer and all. God bless Ben. And big heart out to you. And of course, good luck with everything you're got going on. Friends that have crossed paths with in my life. And a big shout out to Ben. I thank you for listening. Everybody on the Facebook Live app, of course, YouTube, Across the Board Sports Talk Show on YouTube, Twitter, the Mixler app, mixlr.com/Joe-Unis. Subscribe. Please subscribe to all of it. Make this show even better than what it is. But this has been an animated show. I'm going on an absolute tear about this Game 7 tonight because I absolutely can. I might just go sleep for about 8 hours until this game, the first pitch at 8:09, which I'm not going to do because I'll watch college football. But, I will be tuned in for this as well. Nobody wants to tango with me on this discussion about a Game 7. This is the best that sports can offer. Period. There's nothing else that get me more excited than Game 7. I mean it with all I'm not just saying it to try to get people pissed off at me. The Super Bowl does not match up to any Game 7. I mean, to me, Game 7 in a first round of the NBA playoffs or the NHL playoffs, sure. The Super Bowl's greater because Super Bowl's for a championship. I should preface this by saying Game 7's for a championship is better than a Super Bowl. So the NLCS to get yourself in to the World Series is on a far greater stance to me than it is on any other platform of a Super Bowl or any kind of contest that sports can throw out. You talk about a top 25 matchup. You talk about 1 versus 2 during the season. You talk about Warriors versus the Celtics now, which I would believe is the best 2 teams in basketball going up against each other. It beats it. Whatever your sport can offer. I mean, Joe, you would think who's the 2? What's the best that boxing or UFC can throw out for you right now? If you're watching UFC, is it Khabib versus who are the next? Was McGregor Khabib the biggest fight of the year that some people were coining it as? What's the biggest?
I think it was one of the popular ones of the year.
And the ratings showed that too.
But
people love that.
It's tough because there's so many good fighters out there, and then there's the ones that they're great fighters, but they're not as involved with social media and all that and popular that way.
Yeah, they're not marketed very well.
Yeah, they're not like Khabib. No one knew about Khabib till Conor McGregor said, "I want to fight this guy."
Of course.
Then all of a sudden, everybody's like, "Yeah, Team Khabib."
Yeah, and now he wants to fight Mayweather.
Yeah, you didn't know. Nobody knew. I didn't know who the hell.
I didn't know who he was either.
I saw some kid with a beard that came out of nowhere and could wrestle his ass.
Out of Russia.
Be Putin didn't know who Khabib was till he won.
And then he sat down with him and shook his hand and congratulated him. But now Mayweather wants to fight Khabib. That's the next big thing. But
that could be dangerous.
It is. But was that better than a Game 7? See, that's how you're gonna look at it. Are these games bigger than a Game 7? I don't think so. This is Game freaking 7. I mean, wait, somebody take my pulse.
It might be for someone like me. I'm gonna watch the fight.
Yeah, you're not okay.
If they're on at the same time, I'm watching.
Okay, but let's be honest. You're not going to watch this game tonight, right? You probably won't because you're a family man. You're going to spend time with your family, which I commend you for. I'm a big family guy too, but sports is right up there for me, so it's hard. But for me, it's I think you're with the popularity vote here. You're with the norm. There are a lot of people who are and because it's baseball. If tonight was a Super Bowl, you would watch. It's a Super Bowl. If it was Game 7 of even the NBA Finals, you'd probably watch. This is baseball, and that's why. And that was my gripe the whole show for the last hour and change. This is what angers me. Because it's baseball, nobody wants to give it love. That's why.
You know what it is about baseball? Baseball, for some people, is hard to watch on TV.
It is, but in person, it's one damn sport, one great sport to watch.
We'll even shout out the Iron Pigs down the road.
Yeah.
I tried watching them on TV a while ago. It didn't work out so well. Went to a game.
Changes everything.
Loved it. Yeah. Had a great time. You're actually in the game.
Grab a bite to eat.
You're in the moment.
Yeah.
You're baseball filled. but on TV it's tough.
Yeah, see, you're with the popular vote on this, and that's why I wanted to make this subject as a game 7. It's not just about the MLB; it's about a game 7. And for me, you get a chance to win a championship, and whoever wins tonight is going to rush the field. There's going to be Gatorade bats. There's going to be a team picture in the middle of the field. It's an NLCS pennant, and I think if I was on the Milwaukee side, this is probably bigger for Milwaukee than it is LA. And I say this because Milwaukee's such a small market. Other than Aaron Rodgers, they don't got much going on up there. And, Giannis, the Greek freak in Milwaukee, has got a lot of, attention going on right now with the Bucks. But he's not going to win them a championship. I mean, I'll be shocked to say if they're going to win him a championship. I don't see that happening. But anytime soon, at least. He's going to end up going on to get a big contract. But this is the biggest thing in Milwaukee since the Packers won a Super Bowl years ago over Pittsburgh down in Dallas. This is huge, but all in all, Game 7s hold that weight for me. And nobody tangled with me on the chat room. There's still time, but nobody says, "Dude, you're nuts." And I thought I would get that today. That's why I've been so revved up about it, because I thought people would say it's Game 7, but it's a National League Championship Series. If it was Game 7 of the World Series, then it would say something. But this is just to go to the World Series. But my whole thesis was, this is a do or die. This is a sudden death. This is what you played for. It's been a great series, and now you're going head to head against each other for a chance to play Boston in the World Series. I think this is going to be a phenomenal day of sports. I think it's going to be a phenomenal game to watch, and I think every pitch everyone's going to be on the edge of their seat. At least me and baseball fans across the country will be tuned in to watch this game. Game 7s in sports, there's nothing like it. That's a thesis in my opinion. I think it's the biggest thing in sports that they can offer. I think if I'm going to get so overly excited about something, it's going to be a Game 7. It has to be a game where you got to tell me this is do or die. That you're going to sit there and say, you know what, if you lose, your season's over with, Joe. Like, think about that in a perspective of you work so hard, and the only sport that plays as long as it does is baseball. They go from March or April till October. You do the math. April, right? April, May, June, July, August, September, October. No league goes 7 months. I mean, soccer goes afar all across, but there's breaks and international soccer and all this hoopla. Nothing goes longer than baseball from start to finish. And now it comes down to one game. Everything you've built from the first week of baseball till now, and you're talking about a game where if you lose, you're out. That to me is what makes this more important. That this is the NFL. Yeah, it's one game a week, right? It's every Sunday or Thursday or Monday. The season's only 16 games. So you could sit there and say, well, you play a game a week. If you lose one, it's hard because now you're going to have to try to chase it. If you finish 10-6, you may not even make the playoffs. That's hard. But when you play 162 regular season games, then you play a playoff game, and if you don't win, you go home. That's big, man. That's big. I don't think it can get bigger than that. But again, I might be overselling it.
What is that, 162
162, yeah. 162 regular season games.
That's a lot
Then
of games.
then the postseason. So
I mean, for most of the guys, you're swinging a bat, so there's a possibility as you're swinging, you can pull something in the back with shoulder arms, which I know people who have done that.
Yeah. Get injured, unfortunate injuries.
Yeah.
That have happened. Yeah.
But then you're thinking these pitchers, these guys are. I mean, I don't know the math, but how many pitches per game are these guys throwing at an average of anywhere from 85 to 100 miles per hour? So
Grueling.
Yeah. Your tendons and muscles in that arm, and even your back muscles, chest, whatever muscles engage that area, you're lobbing this thing down that path to home plate at top speeds.
Yep. Taking a toll on your body.
Let's just say 60 times a game times 162. Your arm is cracked.
It's cracked. And that's why it's been such a long season for these teams. And then it comes down to one game. And let's say that pitcher comes out and throws a complete dud tonight or a gem and goes nuts. That's why it's intriguing. That's why there's drama. And that's why drama in a Game 7 is far greater than any other drama. And I think for me, look, just to wrap this whole thing up, and it's going to be an exciting day of sports. Of course, college football starts at noon and 8 o'clock tonight, Game 7, and we have I think this is a great show, even though nobody, and I still open up a forum here for everybody tuning in. If somebody wants to battle me here for a second on why I think tonight's Game 7 is far greater than anything sports could ever offer, that's the subject. But, if you go out tonight and look at this game and you lose, you're wrapping up this season in a nutshell and say, well, this guy didn't come through, this guy came through. This is big, man. This is... you could put all that, what we just said, about every pitch and every battle and everything you did all year round comes down to one game. someone's going to be left in the dust. Someone has to win this game tonight. And that's what makes it the drama of sports. And there's the NFL, it lacks drama. We'll talk about it tomorrow. I'm telling you, when's the last time you said this is besides the Chiefs and Patriots last Sunday, which that's why we spent the whole show last Sunday talking about Brady versus Mahomes, because it was the young gun versus the vet, the young gun versus the champ, right?
I mean, I think, honestly, baseball players in the MLB, they still play because they love the game.
Yeah. I agree with that.
You know,
but do NFL players play because they love the game?
You know what? I think the percentage is low. Like if you see someone on Facebook put some highlights about Saquon Barkley and him running here and there.
Yeah.
I shared it. It was pretty neat.
I saw it. Yeah, I saw it.
But you can see this guy. He's running hard. He's juking. I mean,
he loves the game.
He loves the game.
But again, he's fresh and he's a rookie. He hasn't been burned. He hasn't been burned yet. But it just
it's nice to see that.
It is absolutely.
Yeah.
But it just seems like some of these guys are interested because they're getting paychecks, Joe. That's the thing. And it's like, I think for baseball, they're getting paid, but it's the drama, right? It's that you're playing for your city. What the NFL lacks, and maybe because of the product that they're selling to us, they don't, like if you watch a game where it's like, okay, Eagles-Cowboys, right, in Dallas, you don't feel like that crowd is really backing them because it's for the city of Dallas. Yeah. They just do it for the star on the helmet. Like when you watch baseball, they're there for their city, right? When you watch college basketball, they're there for their school. When you watch college football, they're there for their school. There's a pride factor, and that's what makes it drama. The NFL is just all about the paycheck. The starting quarterback for a team may have grown up in LA and he plays for the Giants, right? Yeah. I'm just giving an example, but there's a different drama factor to it. You're playing for more than just that paycheck. That's how I feel that's why I love soccer so much, because those people are playing for their country. They're playing for their club. That's kind of why it's different. And the NFL to me has lost that juice. But we'll talk NFL tomorrow. We'll get into the NFL tomorrow. I don't want to hate the NFL, because a lot of people think that about me and they think that the NFL, I just don't like it as much as I used to. I'm just being very frank about it.
I think there's a lot of people who agree with you.
Yeah, it's lost its juice. But what didn't lose its juice was the show. Nobody tangled with me. I don't know if anybody chimed in at the last second there, but nobody tangled with me on the subject. Game 7 tonight. It's a must-watch. You saw Mike Vitko earlier. He says, I'm not a baseball guy, but he's watching. We'll recap it tomorrow. Top 5 games of the day. Scroll back in the show if you want to listen to my college football snippet. We didn't talk so much about college football today, but again, Clemson. That's who I'm taking today, minus 17.5. We'll recap that tomorrow. Clemson, GodfatherLocks.com. Check it out for more picks. Big game tonight, Dodgers Brewers. Who's going on to the World Series? The NBA tonight, which I was going to get to. The Sixers discussion, we'll leave that for tomorrow. Markelle Fultz. I know there's a lot of pressure going on with Philadelphia. The Lakers tonight, LeBron's home opener at 10:30 against the Rockets. It's hard to see LeBron in that Lakers jersey, man. I'll be honest with you. Very hard to see that.
It's kind of weird.
It is weird. The old school purple and gold. All my Lakers fans could chime in on that.
You're so used to seeing him in like a dark color uniform.
Yeah.
He's gonna wear that. It's so weird.
He looks. I mean, beast athleticism is still there. The guy's a fucking monster.
Does he come out putting the show, or does he come out just going, "Hey guys, I'm here"?
I'm here. Yeah. Well, they lost to Portland the other night, and they're saying, well, he's got a lot of young players. Can he carry this team? Look, the Lakers aren't going to win a championship this year, but I think the motivation factor is going to be questioned because he's playing with a bunch of newbies, right? He's playing with a bunch of young kids. We're going to see what happens tonight with the Lakers home opener. Big shout out to my other advertisers, Elias Market and Bake Shop, of course, in Allentown. The Wooden Match, which I mentioned, hopefully doing a show with Albert coming up in the next couple of weeks. Aladdin Restaurant, tonight is Saturday, belly dancer night at Aladdin. BYOB, give Aladdin a call. Of course, if you look for a night out with your family or your girlfriend or your wife, not wives. That'll be bad news. We don't live in a foreign country. Check out. Take out your wife for a nice dinner.
I'll skip that one.
Essence Hookah Lounge, 3rd Street in Bethlehem, right down the street from where Joe was talking about growing up playing football. If you want to check on out and have a hookah tonight with the college kids, check out Essence. And of course, Eric Alnor LLC. My man Eric is providing a great service. If you're looking for a counselor, go to Eric Alnor LLC, the Eric Alnor counseling page on LLC. But the premier sponsors, and I cannot stress giving the local businesses love. Red Jewelers, Law Offices Albert Yakub, The Cut, your Lehigh Valley Realtor Eli Boutros, Laziz Mediterranean Grill, Biagio Pizzeria, my man Joe at JDM Photography providing the lights, the background, everything like that, and Meza Middle Eastern Restaurant, who is having their biggest party of the year this Friday, October 26th at the Palace Center in Allentown, right off of Hanover Avenue. My man Rami.
Are we going to that?
We're not going to that.
We're not going to that?
No, I'm not going to that because I have a conflict of interest. There's another event going on Friday that I have to discuss off the air. But
We can't just go and grab some kakubis or anything like that.
we could do if you want. Grab some meza, of course. My man Rami would let us in. Of course, Rami's a fine sponsor of the show at Meza, and I'm sure that's not the case. We can definitely go in there.
Yeah, I did say that.
Yeah, Rami he'll make it happen for you to get some kapkubi and some fine food at Mickley Ave in Whitehall, Meza Middle Eastern Restaurant. Look, it's a Saturday night. If you want to watch Dodgers Brewers and go on down to Meza, give my man Rami a shout because talk about great service. Rami's a great dude, man. He'll take care of you. He'll definitely entertain you guys with some live music, some hookahs. If you're a college kid listening, some of your buddies want to go out, definitely check out Meza. That's Maza, Middle Eastern restaurant, Middle Eastern cuisine. Thank you guys for listening. Game 7 tonight. I'll be juiced. I'll be watching. Go Dodgers. Free pick of the day, Dodgers and Clemson. I'll talk to you tomorrow at 10:30. Game 7, do or die. Who wins? The biggest thing in sports. It's Across the Board Sports Talk Show. I'll talk to you tomorrow.